All right. Well, good morning, AP Gov. It is Tuesday, May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. Happy Taco Tuesday. Let's start looking here at our last week of preparation prior to the AP exam on Monday, May 11th. So I'm going to start off by sharing my screen with you, and we are going to look over the schedule for this week. So, as you guys should have already received announcements from yesterday and then this morning. Let's look at this schedule and kind of go over that. First things here, the Unit 3 review notes. That's what I'm going to be going over with you guys here in a few minutes. But I've also linked everything from chapters 8 and 9. Unit 3 is civil rights and civil liberties. So I've given you the in-class notes, the textbook notes, the guided readings, for both chapters 8 and 9, and then the chapter 8 and 9 practice quizzes and the Unit 3 practice quizzes. If you guys didn't get blown up with messages yesterday, I've extended all of the practice tests, so chapters 1 through 16, units 1 through 5, all through May 22nd. So I got emails from people yesterday saying, hey, all these tests are due, what's going on? That's because when we put those practice tests in, we were really looking at May 4th being the day that you were taking the AP test in the theater at Legend. So that's why it was a deadline of yesterday. I have extended all of those. The schedule for this week is going to be a little bit different. So if you've paid attention to nothing else, pay attention to this. So today, right now, we're going to go over the Unit 3 notes, and I'll post this Zoom meeting to YouTube and post it on Canvas for you guys to be able to follow up and go back to later. Tomorrow and Thursday, we will not be having our period-specific check-ins, okay? So tomorrow at same time at 10 a.m., okay, we are going to be going over the AP exam demo and the AP exam checklist. So rather than having check-ins for each period, tomorrow and Thursday, we are all just coming together tomorrow at 10 to go over the AP exam demo. I will record that. I will post it. Regardless of when you are watching this, you need to make sure that you have completed that exam demo, the checklist, before Monday. We will not be going over the Unit 3 practice FRQs specifically. These last two are kind of, we'll talk about them here in a few minutes, but we are not going to be chunking time out to do that just because of this AP exam demo. On your block day, so Wednesday or Thursday, please take the 50 minutes in your testing area, like practice, writing out, looking at your time for these two prompts. This is the last two prompts that you have to practice prior to the AP exam on Monday. On Thursday, there is this AP exam demo assignment. It's very simple. It's only 4 questions. The first question is, what email address is associated with your College Board account? Question 2 is, have you logged in and done the demo? I've done the demo twice. I really think it's important that you go in and you get it to run before Monday, because that will be one of your only ways to know if your device is going to give you any trouble, specifically about Grammarly. The third question, the third question asks if you've reviewed the plagiarism and the cheating guidelines, etc., that are posted, that I've linked in there, just so you're making sure that you're reading the same things I am. And then the last one is, have you uninstalled Grammarly from your testing device? If you run into an issue on Monday because your testing device has glitches, there are ways to fix it, and most easily being you just retake the test on the makeup day in June. So if you don't want to do that, okay, you don't want to continue this process, let's make sure that you've done all 4 steps. But that needs to be done on Thursday. That needs to be done before we come together Friday at 2 o'clock. Everyone's coming together. Mr. Vanderveer's classes, my classes, we're all coming together for a last minute kind of pep talk before we turn it over to you. At this point in time, Monday will be spent for you guys kind of getting yourselves ready for that 2 o'clock, 1:30 to log in, 2 o'clock your test starts. You'll be done with the test by 2:50. So that's the schedule for this week. Are there any questions that we have right now before I continue on in regards to the schedule? Tomorrow at 10, we're going to do the AP exam demo. You should write the FRQs on your own time. The AP exam demo assignment is due on Thursday, and then Friday is 2 o'clock is our kind of pep rally. So any questions on the schedule as it stands right now? Going once, going twice. All right, so let's look over here at this week's notes in the note catcher, chapters 8 and 9, unit 3, civil liberties and civil rights. Okay, so again, both are protections from government power. Civil liberties protect the rights of the individual, okay, whereas civil rights are protecting the rights of groups. So both, when we start to think about unit 3, they are protections from government power. One is more specific to the individual, the other is for the group, civil liberties and civil rights. Okay, we talk about limited government. The idea of limited government can't simply just come from checks and balances. Okay, there has to be some things in place protecting government order. So, who lost power? Right there in the 1800s. Sorry, I'm looking at my neighbor. What's he poking around? The Bill of Rights limited federal power. Again, the Anti-Federalists said it was important to them to have a Bill of Rights listed there in the Constitution, limiting the power of the federal government. Then we, again, after the Civil War and part of the Civil War amendments, we look at the 14th Amendment. Then we look at incorporation. Incorporation meaning on a case-by-case basis, the rights within the Bill of Rights are now extended to the federal government. So when we look at all of our amendments, okay, these ones are protections from compelled actions, okay? Your First Amendment rights, your Third Amendment rights, your Fifth Amendment rights. All of these, again, being protections from governments from compelled action, okay? These ones become protections from government intrusion. So from the government interfering in pushing into state rights and your own powers. And then these amendments here are protections from unfair treatment, whether it's unfair treatment from state or local or state or federal governments, or from the government, treating one group differently than others. Again, you see that with your civil right or Civil War amendments, 13, 14, 15, 19th, women's voting, okay? So the only foundational document listed for this unit is the letter from a Birmingham jail. Okay, we have not made a single gain in civil rights without determined legal and nonviolent pressure. So we see this violation of rights pushes the community towards action, thus getting a government response. So civil rights meaning, hey, this isn't correct. We want to change this. Okay, the rights are being violated. The actions of the community thus force a government response. Here's a link here. I encourage you to go and listen to. It's a podcast that's on Constitution Center website. And there's a quote about civil liberties in the era of COVID-19. We talk about it in a theoretical world. In an actual world, we're often dealing with judges who are under an immense amount of strain to find the authority to save lives. So this is a quote from the podcast posted there. It's very interesting if you have time to read it or listen to it. In the First Amendment, the Supreme Court has ruled against content restrictions of almost any form consistently. Okay, freedom of speech, or freedom of religion, freedom of the press, the restrictions on content, the Supreme Court has pretty much overwhelmingly ruled against limiting that. Okay, however, they have upheld things like time, place, and manner. So yes, you have the right to assembly, but again, it's got to be on public property. It can't be on private property. The freedom of speech during, the time of wars, like maybe seditious speech. We've seen it in World War I, and World War II, and Vietnam. Okay, that sometimes the timing of speech can be limited, or the place in which speech is being limited can be practiced. When you talk about religion, your freedoms and your freedom to practice your religion ends if it infringes on the rights of other people. So though the Supreme Court has ruled against restricting content, they've usually upheld things like time and place. Fourth Amendment, the courts follow the exclusionary rule, again, which prevents the use of illegally obtained evidence. They can't use evidence that they've obtained without a warrant. However, the court has granted exceptions in the name of public safety or counterterrorism. That yes, maybe they've gathered this information illegally, or it's not been obtained with a warrant. However, in the eye of public safety, that might be a restriction. I always like this. Rights are like tigers. Everyone loves them, yet they are constantly under threat. So again, on your block day, complete the AP exam demo and demo assignment. We're going to go through that together tomorrow at 10 a.m. and then complete the Unit 3 practice test. That should be your first priority, is to do the exam demo. That's going to be the only way that you know if your testing device is going to glitch out on you. For the most part, as some of you guys have already seen, it's pretty straightforward. But we want to make sure that you're running that before Monday morning. Then again, the priority 2 should be completing the Unit 3 practice FRQs. On Friday, we'll be doing a Zoom review with everybody starting at 2 p.m. If you are looking for questions to help you and basis of your review, here are some questions taken straight from the course design from this unit that you could use to kind of research and follow up. Allowing the restrictions of civil rights on minority groups, when have they been protected and when have they not? These are some great questions to kind of dig into. If you haven't already, go back through. These are the in-class notes from chapters 8 and 9. When we talked about the Constitution, we talked about the Bill of Rights, civil rights, and civil liberties. There are all sorts of summarization slides in here. There's other questions for you. Please take some time to go through that. But again, those are both posted, civil rights, civil liberties. These slides are posted on Canvas for any questions that you might have. Are there any questions right now over the Unit 3 resources? Okay, last piece. Let's look at the 2 FRQs for this week. So equality of opportunity is a central value in the American political system. Choose either Congress or the Supreme Court and present an argument for why your choice is the most responsible for advancing the principle of equal opportunity in the United States. So again, you're having to pick Congress or the Supreme Court, and which one of those branches is most responsible for advancing equality of opportunity. Your 2 pieces of evidence, or at least 1 piece of evidence, must come from the list of these 3. The 14th Amendment, again, Equal Protection Clause is prime for that. Article 1 of the Constitution, I think you should be using Article 1 if you're arguing that Congress is the most responsible. Or Fed 78, and Fed 78 should be for your courts. So if I were you, regardless of whether you pick Congress or the Supreme Court, if you pick Congress, pick Article 1 and the 14th Amendment. If you pick the courts, pick Fed 78 and the 14th Amendment. Okay, you could pick, again, 14th and a court case for sure, but like, let's follow the path of least resistance here with your writing. Please, 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 if you haven't heard it before, I'm going to tell you again, use the 3-paragraph model. It's easy to grade, it's easy to get points. Okay, 3-paragraph model, your thesis is underlined in that opening paragraph. Here's what I'm saying. It's not enough to say, I believe Congress is the most responsible for advancing the principle of equality because of the 14th Amendment and Article 1 of the Constitution. That is probably not going to get you thesis points. Okay, you need to have a line of reasoning behind it. It's not enough just to say, because of documents. That's not the point. A line of reasoning says, here's what I'm arguing. Here's what I'm going to present. Okay, it doesn't need to be a full summary of all the evidence, but it's why do you think that? What are you trying to convince the reader? It's an argumentative essay. What is your argument? Paragraph 2 should be your first piece of evidence taken from the list that's given. And the second paragraph should be your second piece of evidence, which can come from this list or from something else, from your knowledge of course concepts. But 3 paragraphs, follow the template. Make it easy on yourself. Follow that along. Second question here. In October of 2001, a 342-page USA Patriot Act quickly passed through Congress and was signed into law 45 days after 9/11. It expanded the federal government's ability to access phone and email communications to an unprecedented level. It gave the FBI the authority to obtain personal information on people suspected of terror-related activities without the approval of justices. So this basically warrantless wiretapping. Broad support for these security measures led to a quick response by Congress and the president, but ignited a long-standing debate in the American government regarding the balance between civil liberties and social order. Groups such as the ACLU launched campaigns opposing the measures and cautioning against the erosion of civil liberties in the wake of the 9/11 attack. Part A, describe a section of the Constitution that a group such as the ACLU would likely say is most affected by the USA Patriot Act. You would want to be looking at some of those amendments that have to do with rights of the accused. 4, 5, and 6. Find something in there. Part B, explain how checks and balances could work to ensure that that section of the Constitution identified in Part A would be protected. Don't give me a definition of what checks and balances are. Explain to me how checks and balances can protect whatever you identified in Part A. Part C, over time, some of the measures of the Patriot Act have been challenged by state governments who do not wish to cooperate with the federal government. Explain a concept of American government that this action illustrates. It's tough. But those are the 2 FRQs for this week. If you have questions on these specifically, please reach out to me. Again, we are not going to be going over these specifically on Friday. Okay, but these are your last 2 practice questions prior to the exam on Monday. Are there any questions? We've covered a lot today. We've gone over the schedule for the week. Tomorrow at 10, we're going to be doing the AP exam demo. You're going to be writing your responses to those 2 FRQs, either Wednesday or Thursday during your block day. You should have the AP exam demo assignment completed on Thursday afternoon. It's only 4 questions. 3 of them are yes or no. Friday at 2 o'clock, we come back together for a big Zoom meeting and kind of the last minute pep talks. Are there any questions for everyone else? Rachel, I can if you would like, but I am not going to push through. I'll grade them in the grade book, but for specific feedback, you're going to need to reach out to me. Any other questions? Okay. I can't believe we've covered all of that in 20 minutes. That was a lot of information. We moved pretty quickly. So again, I would ask that you guys, if you have questions, please let me know. Otherwise, I will plan on seeing you guys tomorrow at 10 o'clock or view the video on YouTube later once it's been posted. Sound good? Okay, get ahead of yourselves. If you want to practice, go to that cb.org/AP demo and try out that practice test. Even if you just Google College Board 2020 exam demo, it takes you through. If you can run the demo, you can run the exam. That's good. Part of it's going to tell you if you have issues running the demo, you're going to have an issue running the exam itself on Monday. Okay, guys. Well, Taco Tuesday, Cinco de Mayo. Enjoy the rest of your day. Again, if you have questions, please reach out and I'll see you.